Yes, I will. Please join me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mike. Roll call, please, Buffy.
Councilmember Johnson,
Here.
Councilmember Losi,
I am here.
Councilmember Stanfield,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Here.
Mayor Long.
Here. Thank you. So now we have our presentations and proclamations. Our first proclamation is National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week. Do we have anyone that was going to accept this? Oh, our police chief, Sarah Zinni. Okay, there they are. All right, National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week, April 11th through 17th. Whereas emergencies can occur at any time that require police, fire, or emergency medical services, and public safety dispatchers are the first and most critical contact our citizens have with emergency services. And whereas public safety dispatchers are the single vital link for our police officers, monitoring their activities by radio, providing them information, and ensuring their safety. And whereas the safety of our police officers and firefighters is dependent upon the quality and accuracy of information obtained from citizens who telephone the Fortuna Police Department Communications Center. And whereas the city of Fortuna is served by a group of men and women working as public safety dispatchers for law enforcement, fire, rescue, and medical emergency response agencies in this community. And whereas these dedicated individuals work tirelessly to answer our citizens' calls for help and dispatch the first responders to the scene of those emergencies. And whereas these public safety dispatchers have demonstrated loyalty, commitment, and dedication in the performance of their duties. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the public safety dispatchers working in the city of Fortuna are a valuable asset to our community at large. These professionals who toil with little recognition 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to save lives and provide assistance are unsung heroes. Be it further resolved, it is for these reasons that the City Council of the City of Fortuna wishes to honor them and proclaim April 11th through 17th, 2021 as National Public Safety Telecommunicators Week in the City of Fortuna. The City Council of the City of Fortuna appreciates their commitment and dedication to their profession and congratulates them on a job well done. Signed April 5th in the City of Fortuna by Sue Long. Chief Day, did you want to say anything?
Yes, ma'am. I have Sergeant Cadle, the current unit supervisor for our Communications Dispatch Center, and Paige White here to accept the proclamation. And would you guys like to say anything? Okay. They are honored and they wanted to say thank you, so I'm going to do it for them. And then I have a small presentation to follow.
Okay, go ahead. Are you going to make a presentation to them outside of this meeting?
Just following whenever you're done, Madam Mayor.
Oh, I'm done. Go for it.
All right. Buffy, can I share my screen?
You should be able to now.
Okay. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Honorable Mayor Long and council members. Public Safety Dispatcher Paige White and Unit Supervisor Sergeant Jason Cadle are currently shown in my camera view and will be accepting the commendation on behalf of the department's communication division. Before I begin, I would like to acknowledge Sergeant Ellebrecht for supervising the communications division during the 2020 year and for the many years preceding 2020. Tonight's presentation is a meritorious unit commendation for all members of the Communications Division. During the 2020 calendar year, the Fortuna Police Department's Communications Center significantly exceeded national standards relating to 911 emergency telephone call answer times. National standards require that 90% of emergency calls be answered in less than 15 seconds. During 2020, the Fortuna Police Department's public safety dispatchers answered a total of 5,602 911 emergency telephone calls. Of those 5,602 calls received, 98.81% were answered in less than 10 seconds, and 99.01% were answered in less than 15 seconds. Their tremendous effort and staggering statistics performed by the Fortuna Police Department's Communication Center far exceed national standards. Public safety dispatchers serve as the critical first contact or public safety answering point for those citizens who call 911 from the cities of Fortuna, Rio Dell, and Ferndale, and also serve as the direct link to our officers and firefighters in the field. They monitor the radios, computers, phones, and much more, answering thousands of calls from our community each year. Not being visible or always recognized in the public eye, these true first responders play a critical role in the communication link between our community and the public safety professionals in the field. Their service is critical to the response and outcome of every public safety call for service. As 2020 comes to an end, it is important that we recognize and acknowledge the work of these amazing professionals. We often hear about what our officers have accomplished in the field, but it is equally important to recognize what our dispatchers have accomplished in the communication center. This meritorious unit commendation is specifically awarded for the professional and superior achievement in the performance of their duties related to 911 emergency telephone call response by the department's public safety dispatchers and communication center. The professionalism, initiative, and loyal devotion to the department and to the community reflect great credit upon communication staff and were in keeping with the highest traditions of the Fortuna Police Department. So I'm gonna stop sharing. All right. Paige, congratulations. Congratulations. All right. All right, that's it, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
We appreciate you. All right, moving on to oral comments from the public. Do we still have the ribbon going across the screen, Buffy, that tells everyone the number to call if they want to participate? That's just part of our normal thing right now, right? You're muted. You're muted. I don't know what you're telling me.
Sorry.
That's okay.
There should be a ribbon that goes across the bottom.
Okay, so if anyone would like to participate in our Zoom meeting, please call the number shown on your screen. If you get in after we've skipped oral comments from the public, we'll come back to you. We just don't want to hold up our meeting. So if you want to address the council on anything not on our agenda tonight, please call in. Our next item is our consent calendar. We have,
Mayor Long, I actually have a public comment that came in via email.
okay, could you read that, please?
Yes. So it says Citizen Safety In-Town Emergency Protocol. Good evening. I'm Jill Morris. I have been a Fortuna resident and property owner since 2005. I have watched the improvements of Fortuna with great admiration. We are one of the nicest small communities on the California North Coast. I love living here. I would like to address the City Council tonight with a concern, an incident that occurred abruptly on the relaxing afternoon of Saturday, March 27, 2021, brought this concern to my attention. While riding my bike, I was passing in front of Coast Central Credit Union on Fortuna Boulevard. I heard emergency vehicles. I stopped my bike at the curb. At first, I did not realize the rate of speed the cruises were traveling. I was stunned for a moment. There were two different officers driving at least 60 miles per hour. Although I feel it was faster than that, car number 2 was only a couple of car lengths behind the first, going through that narrow merging lane. They were very close to me. I felt that my life was in danger. They continued on towards Main Street at the high rate of speed. With that said, I completely understand that our officers have a dangerous job to perform on a daily basis. I would not want any of them to be harmed in any way, particularly in the line of duty. I understand that getting to the call fast as possible is their first thought. My concern is for the community's citizens as well. The relocation of the substation is great, although it is now in a neighborhood, not in the downtown. I feel that an emergency vehicle protocol should be in place for officers responding from the substation at Newburgh Road. When the merging median was created, the City of Fortuna Planning Department did not have a public substation in that area to consider. The impact on community and traffic must be evaluated. I have been told that ambulances and fire department vehicles have a limited amount over the speed limit they can travel. I saw firsthand on Saturday how a bad situation could have easily become tragic. Please evaluate the emergency traffic situation for this area surrounding the Fortuna Police Department's new home. Thank you, Jill Lee Morris.
All right, thank you for that, Buffy. And thank you to our public for writing us. Anything else?
No, that was all I had.
Okay. All right, now we'll move on to our consent calendar. We have city council minutes from March 15th, March 24th, and March 31st, and the report of disbursements. Does anyone wish to pull anything? All right, hearing none, we could entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Buffy?
Councilmember Losi,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Thank you. Moving on to our first city council business, item A, a public hearing for adoption of various rates and fees for city services, including administration, parks, recreation, police, River Lodge, and Monday Club and transit fees. We have a staff report for this, please.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Long. This was a topic that we addressed initially in a workshop last Wednesday, and our finance director, Aaron Felmley, will be providing the staff report for this item.
Yes, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council. So staff did present the proposed fee schedule to the City Council at a special workshop on March 31st. One action item came from those discussions in regards to the River Lodge and Monday Club. Council requested staff include a fee for outside use only at the River Lodge facility. As such, staff has included a new fee within the River Lodge and Monday Club fee schedule of $200 per day for outside use only. It is staff's recommendation to conduct the public hearing and consider the adoption of various rates and fees for the administrative, parks, recreation, police, River Lodge, Monday Club, and transit divisions. And to recap the summary of changes, the parks fee schedule, a new fee for cornhole beanbag set security deposit was added. And then the outside use fee at the River Lodge and Monday Club was added. The administrative, recreation, police, and transit divisions had no changes. So if adopted, the various rates and fees for services will be included into the fiscal year 21-22 budget. So with that, I would be happy to answer any questions. I'll turn it over back to you, Mayor Long.
Thank you. So I'm looking at the River Lodge section and I'm not finding that on page 41. Is that for how many hours? Is it just all day, or can they do half a day, or is it just a $200 fee no matter what?
The fee is set for all day, so it'd be $200 per day, and it's at the bottom of page 41. It's under number 2, and then subsection A. Outside use. Yeah, so that includes the gazebo area, the heather garden area, and the fire pit area. So you could use any of those areas as well as the parking lot, and so that would run $200 per day.
So if someone only wanted it for a few hours, is there something in there, or is it just going to be $200 no matter what?
It would be $200 no matter what, and that kind of was the reason we came up with that number is because we're going to need a staff member to go. We do have to allow access to the bathroom, so they'll have to go open up the bathrooms at the beginning of the event, as well as at the end of the event, and then they'll have to clean the bathrooms once the event is over. So it takes approximately $200 worth of staff time to perform those activities, and so the length of the event doesn't really have much of an impact on that.
Okay, Anyone else have any questions? I'm not seeing anyone speaking up or raising their hand. Do we have a motion? Oh, we have to open it to public comment. Would anyone from the public like to comment? If so, please call the number on your screen. All right, hearing no phones ringing, seeing no frantic gestures from Buffy, we can close the public hearing and move on to a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt Resolution 2021-09 and read by title only.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Buffy?
Resolution 2021-09, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fortuna establishing a schedule of fees and charges for administrative, parks, recreation, police, River Lodge, and Monday Club and transit within the City of Fortuna for fiscal year 2021 to 2022. Councilmember Losi,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. All right, our next item is a public hearing to consider the adoption of various rates and fees for city services, including building, community development, water and wastewater laboratory fees, Resolution 2021-10. We previously discussed this in a special meeting, and tonight's action is to continue this till April 19th because the council requested more information. Merritt, did you want to add anything to that, or Aaron?
No, just that staff has asked for a continuation. We want to provide some more examples and comparisons before we move ahead with any changes associated with the building and community development fees and the other fees that are listed on this item.
Okay, with that, do we have a motion to continue this till April 19th?
I'll make a motion to continue this item till the April 19th meeting.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Buffy?
Councilmember Losi,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes, thank you. Our next item is to approve the 2021 State Community Development Block Grant application. Staff report, please.
Yes. Can I share my screen, Buffy? Am I ready for that?
Yes.
So Jennifer Brown, our economic development specialist, will be providing this presentation. Looks like Jen's all ready to go.
Hi, good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. This evening, I'm presenting the staff report for the 2021 State CDBG application. Staff recommends to the council to authorize staff to proceed with the City of Fortuna Program Income Only American with Disabilities Barrier Removal Project and authorize the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments by adopting Resolution 2021-11. So the Community Development Block Grant, CDBG program provides annual grants on a formula basis to states, cities, and counties. We went into this pretty in depth on the scoping meeting on March 24th. The State Department of Housing and Community Development, HCD, released a Community Development Block Grant, NOFA, which is a Notice of Funds Available, on January 29th, 2021. Approximately 30 million in federal funds was released, and eligible cities and counties may submit applications up to 1.5 million and up to 3 activities. As discussed in the scoping meeting, the city has program income that was created from a past CDBG project. HCD considers funds over $35,000 as excessive and requires jurisdictions to spend down PI funds on CDBG eligible projects. The city's current program income is estimated at around $854,000, and that's the current number from March 24th, which is larger than the 784. So currently we're looking at $854,000. The city cannot apply for any other CDBG projects until it has submitted a project that will spend down the PI to an acceptable amount. Program income eligible activities includes capital projects, capital project redevelopment, and community development grant programs. And each of the activities has to meet one of the 3 national objectives for HCD, which is benefiting low and moderate income persons, aids in the prevention or elimination of slums or blight, or meets a community development need having a particular urgency. So on March 24th, part of this grant application is we were required to hold a scoping meeting to invite the public to participate and to put up proposals. And on March 24th, the council heard 3 ideas that were presented from the public. The first was the Humboldt Senior Resource Center requested $26,500 in feasibility studies for potential senior housing. Fortuna Senior Center requested $250,000 for purchasing a metal shell building with a roof and the beginning of a foundation for a senior center. And Edge Caliber requested $560,000 for land acquisition of 1.5 acres to construct a community-owned women and children's hospital. So staff discussed each of these projects with HCD representatives. And then although each project is eligible, they are not defined enough to ensure HCD that the project would be completed. If the city acquired land for a hospital, the city and the partnering agencies would need to complete a plan of delivering a hospital. The same is applied for the senior housing and the senior center. Staff has contacted each representative and explained the limits of their project, where to find the CDBG resources, and what steps they may want to take if they wish to pursue future CDBG funds. So none of those are actually eligible right now because they're not fully fledged ideas that can land in a completed project. So at that same meeting, staff had presented a infrastructure project, a sidewalk improvement project, and it would take about 13 barriers. It's growing, but at least 13 barriers out of the city. The block group areas, this is for the LMIs. So at least 51% of the people, the clientele that benefit from this project, they have to be low income. So this area, these blocks qualify, it's 51.9%. This project increases access to public facilities, many of which provide free services. It improves accessibility for LMI persons, disabled persons, and elderly persons are automatically considered LMI persons. And 100% of this CDBG application will be grant funded. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this unless you want me to, but the Deputy Director of Public Works and Merit are available for any questions on this project. So I'm just going to run through it since we already went through it at the scoping meeting. A couple of areas close to the library, the rodeo grounds, the new bike park, and a lot of curbs and ramps on Main Street. And here's just an aerial. This is where where the blocks were, the blue blocks where all the locations are here. And this was something that the county had talked about wanting to do, was over for the library and the bus stop. Here's 12th Street. Here's some pictures of what it looks like. The rodeo grounds. There's also some paving involved. It's not just sidewalks, but there is a little bit of paving to improve ADA access. Here's where the access to the new bike park is, which currently doesn't have the ADA access. And there's a lot of curbs and replacements that will be done for a lot of Main Street, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 14th, 15th, and 16th. And here's some examples where you can see they just need to be updated. That's all for that. So in my packet, there was an attached resolution. Let's try to stop sharing my screen here. The attached authorizing resolution requires approval from Fortuna's governing board. The authorizing resolution designates a person or persons responsible for and authorized to execute all documents related to the application. And the applicants are required to use the department's sample resolution. So that resolution that is presented to you is a template from HCD. And the city manager has been designated as to execute all of the documents related to this application. And that's what I have. If there's any questions, and Merritt and Kevin may jump in as well. Thank you.
Mayor Long, if I could just add a couple of things to the staff report. The amount of money that the city has in its program income, again, in excess of 800,000 is atypical. And one of the things that we're being told by HCD staff is if we don't spend that, it has the possibility of being required to be returned to the state. So it's really important that we have an actionable project soon. We think there's a lot of value to each of the project ideas that were brought to us from the community. And although they will take more work to develop and result in a benefit, that would be, which is the basic requirement, is that any project you do using CDBG funds has to have a benefit to LMI persons. And so each of those was a component or a piece, but not in itself a whole project that would deliver a benefit. But the city is not precluded in the future, after we do this program income project, if the council approves it for barrier removal, we could still do new applications that follow through on the different ideas were presented. So it just means if the council approves the barrier removal project tonight and uses our program income funds, what that means is we'd be bringing new money into the community and have to do a new application for future projects. So it doesn't mean we can't do more. And one of the very reasons we brought Jennifer on board and we're pursuing this is to be able to bring more of those CDBG funds into the city. So we're excited that there's interest and some.
We lost you, Merritt.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I think I was about done, but we would look forward to looking for community ideas for new applications.
Thank you, Merritt. Let's open public comment, and then if anyone wants to comment on this item, please call the number on your screen. And in the meantime, does the council have any questions or comments?
I do. I have a question, Madam Mayor.
Go ahead.
So either Jen or Merritt, the Fortuna Senior Center isn't eligible for this because of LMI benefits?
No. It's those projects are all eligible, but they're not complete. There's no milestones to the complete. So they wanted us to pay for some of the frame and a partial foundation, but there's
Right.
no plan that that's going to be a complete building. They don't, does that make sense? There's no funding, there's no budget, there's no milestones leading to that completion. So if the city gives that money for that partial project, it's committing that it's going to see that project to the end.
So Councilmember Losi, what we would need to do if we wanted to fund the construction of the senior center, seniors are automatically designated as low moderate income persons just based on their age. And so if the city wanted to do a project like that, we'd have to complete an environmental document. We'd have to have a thorough project description. We'd have to have an environmental document. We'd have to do NEPA for the project once we have a project description before any work was started. And then we could apply and we could seek funding for 100% of the senior center. It's absolutely eligible, but just making the contribution of a portion would mix funds. It would trigger adapting that project to comply with all the federal requirements. So really it's kind of an all or, nothing, or all if the senior center really wanted to modify their project to meet all the federal requirements. So I think this would be better suited for a whole new application if we're going to put effort in to develop that project.
And just so the council is assured, I called and emailed all the representatives. I've talked to Fortuna Senior Center. I let them know it looks like this is a bigger project, perhaps a 1.5 million, and that we're available for a meeting. I sent them all the resources from the CDBG so they can see what they're looking at. And also with Humboldt Senior Resource Center, we are talking to Rachel Sovereign, and being open to future meetings, because I think senior housing is also great. It's also eligible. We can't pay for a feasibility study, but if they can figure that out and have a complete project, again, they can come to the city for that. So we are still engaged. I'm still available. They can still email me questions and I can still contact HCD for them.
Just so that I fully understand, that it would be, if one of those projects were granted, it would almost be that we're in some type of a partnership with those projects and those groups.
That's right. So the city would be the applicant, and they would be, I forgot what the term is in CDBG, but they would be
A sub-recipient.
a sub-recipient of that. And so we would have to have a contractual agreement. But for the case of senior housing, the project would have to result in senior housing. It couldn't just be one piece. It would have to take it all the way through to the point of delivering that benefit, which would be housing for seniors. And typically they have a timeline of less than 3 years that has to happen. Projects have to be delivered within as well.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions from the council? Buffy, did anyone from the public call in?
No.
Okay, we'll close public comment. If there aren't any more questions, we can entertain a motion.
Move to authorize staff to proceed with the City of Fortuna program income only, American with Disabilities Barrier Removal Project, and adopt resolution 2021-11 and read by title only.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Buffy?
Resolution 2021-11, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Fortuna approving a program income-only application for funding and the execution of a grant agreement and any amendments thereto from the 2021 funding year of the state CDBG program. Councilmember Losi,
Yes.
Councilmember Johnson,
Yes.
Councilmember Stanfield,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Trent,
Yes.
Mayor Long.
Yes. Thank you, Jen, for that report and information. Thank you, Buffy. Moving on to city manager's report, Merritt.
Thank you, Mayor Long. So first, I'd like to review the upcoming meeting schedule. Our next regular city council meeting is on April 19th at 6 o'clock p.m. The next planning commission meeting will be on April 13th at 6 p.m. And then our next Measure E meeting date is April 6th, tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. And at that meeting, we'll be providing a recommendation from myself, from the city manager and finance director to the Measure E committee for them to decide what the spending priorities are. So that'll be tomorrow at 5:30. All of those meetings are by teleconference. The regularly scheduled Roner Community Recreation and Park District meeting planned for April 7th is canceled. And the next regular scheduled meeting will be on May 5th at 2:30 p.m. I have a few items that I wanted to report, my verbal report. One of those is I had been speaking with Roberta Luskin-Hawk from St. Joseph's and talking to her about the potential for having a community forum. And so St. Joseph's decided to have a community forum, discuss OB services. They'll be holding that community forum virtually on a WebEx platform on April 7th at 6 p.m. And what their target is to do is to engage the public on the plan to enhance childbirth services for Humboldt County. That's from their press release. And as the original forum early in March, the stakeholders from St. Joseph's leadership and clinical teams will be sharing their ideas towards supporting the transition to a single high quality program at St. Joe's in Eureka, effective July 1st, 2021. And so they are inviting the community to submit questions electronically. So they're not going to have live question and answer, but they will be taking the questions electronically. We have a link we'll be putting up on our website. So the community, as a press release, I didn't easily see that on St. Joe's, but if anybody needs the link to that meeting for April 7th, they can contact the city manager's office. I'd be happy to provide it to them, and we'll be getting a press release up tomorrow. I've been working along with other city staff with the Rodeo Association and Auto Expo to draft plans for submission to County Environmental Health for the approval of those important city events. The new state guidelines have been issued for outdoor events that will allow for them to happen, although significant changes will have to be made to make the events compliant with the state guidelines. We'll be continuing to focus on this over the next several weeks until we can get those plans approved by the county. And so there, one of the items that is working in our favor is that the state has provided guidelines for these type of events, but that'll require pretty significant modifications. In the case of the rodeo, where there's enclosed grounds and tickets can be sold in advance, it's a little bit more straightforward, but there'll be reduced occupancy. But for Auto Expo, those downtown general gathering events without controlled admission, we're going to have to work with Auto Expo and really try to figure out a way to kind of reformulate that event. So we have a meeting scheduled with Auto Expo later this week, and we're doing our best to help them and get those events going with kind of the changing landscape of the COVID-19 guidelines. There are some new rules that were just issued and will become effective on April 15th for gatherings at indoor facilities. What that means is we should be able to begin indoor facility rentals at the River Lodge and the Monday Club again in the near future, and our other city buildings in the parks. We'll also be we have a number of frozen position at parks where if we're going to start those rentals, we'll have to look at unfreezing those positions and bringing some of our park staff back on board and filling some of the vacant positions. So again, that was just released late last week. So we're going to be evaluating kind of what our staffing needs are and what that'll look like. We also plan to resume our outdoor facility rentals after April 15th for private gatherings. And so I know there's been a lot of interest from the public, so we're glad that we'll be able to do that. There will be a number of restrictions and, size and number of people being the main one. We're continuing to work on the police facility project. We're currently in the design process, working with Whitchurch Engineering and Cleco. Right now, there was a few requests from the first design deliverable. We wanted to make sure to include covered parking and some more paving and a security barrier around the front of the building. And so we're negotiating a change order with Whitchurch and Cleek, and we still expect to be on track to have a building permit early this summer. I did participate in an FBID retreat. They scheduled 4 3-hour meetings. I was able to attend one of them on Wednesday, and I have another one planned for the 7th. But really, FBID is focusing on its roles, responsibilities, and how it can improve its overall effectiveness. I'm looking forward to working with Diana, the FBID board, to improve FBID's function in the community. And I think Councilmember Stanfield may have more to report on that, and he's been participating in those meetings as well. So that concludes my city manager report, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Merritt. Does anyone have questions? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to our city council or future agenda items. Anyone have anything there? All right, hearing none, we'll move on to city council reports. Mike Johnson.
Okay, well, I was able to attend a legislative update from the League of California Cities, looking ahead to new legislation, and just a couple of things. Well, this is just a couple of things to think about. One is SB 771, which would exempt zero emission and hybrid vehicles from sales and use tax, and also AB 771, which would exempt heavy duty trucks, zero emission trucks, from use, weight, and registration fees. And these are the trucks that deliver freight, haul equipment, and such as that, which actually put wear and tear on the road, but it is removing the funding mechanism that helps to pay for the upkeep of the roads. So it's kind of at odds with each other. And another would be AB 374, which would overhaul the municipal stormwater permit, MS4 permit structure. And its ultimate goal, which is by 2050, it's to make all the waters of the state drinkable. And that's interesting because the state of California is actually the largest polluter of those waterways with the highway system. So all the runoff from that. A couple other things was I was able to attend a California Council of Governments conference, which was interesting and being held virtually instead of live, as we've all noticed with our Redwood Empire Division, League of California Cities Division meetings. It just isn't the same. But a couple interesting things came out of that. One was we're supposed to have a meeting with the chairs of the transportation committees in the Assembly and the State Senate, and one of them couldn't make it, sent their aide to help out. But we discussed a couple items, some questions from the attendees. One of them brought up the difference in the different regions have different needs and how they would address those, because people up here don't have the same needs as people in Southern California or in the Bay Area. And they said, well, we all share the same climate change, and just went on to discuss climate change, but never addressed the difference in how they saw that. Another person asked about the shortfall with the gas tax, which is going to, by 2030, will be $1 billion a year short of meeting the needs to maintain the infrastructure that we have now statewide. And they turned the talk to transit instead of talking about how we can make that up some way. And I know that they are looking to change the use of the funds in the highway transit funding for climate change items, which there may be very well a need for that. But we up here use those funds not for capacity increasing projects that put more vehicles on the roadway, but for safety projects and maintenance projects like Redwood Way that need to be done and add a sidewalk to keep people from walking in the roadway. So there's very much a difference between regions, and I'm hoping that we can get them to address that. And with that, I'll cut that short now because I could go on for a long time and I don't want to do that. So I'll pass it off to Mike.
Thank you, Mike. How about the other Mike?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I'll keep mine short as well. I attended a Redwood Coast Energy Authority meeting on the 25th of last month. We had a report on biomass analysis. And the reason we're talking about that is we are signing a contract to move from 3 years to a 10-year program. And the reasoning is that the longer term, we have fewer costs. It's a better cost for RCEA. It was interesting. We had a consultant for RCEA that gave the report. And it's basically, it's called dispatchable power. It's a base load when you want it, as opposed to the intermittency from solar and wind. So basically biomass is there whenever you need it. We can't depend solely on the solar and the wind because the wind doesn't always blow and we don't always have the sunshine, especially here. So there are disadvantages, of course. There are greenhouse gas emissions, and it does cause a warming effect on the planet. But it is a substitute for fossil fuels, and everything is going to be driven pretty much by climate change in the future. But with biomass, we are mainly looking at what's appropriate locally. And the board feels that this biomass from the Humboldt mill site in Scotia is appropriate at this point. So we will be continuing that program. We also had a closed session with regard to real property negotiations, which that will be continuing. And then last week, I attended a Zoom meeting with Senator Mike McGuire, and our Mayor Sue Long was there. And I think she'd probably be in a better position to give a report than I will. So I'll pass it off.
You can do it. Tammy, I know you've got another commitment. Do you want to go next? You're muted, Tammy.
Sorry. I just have one thing to report. I applied for the county's Measure Z Advisory Committee a while back, and I just recently found out that I was accepted. My application was accepted, and I was appointed by the Board of Supervisors. So I'm very excited to be on that committee and help make decisions for the whole county, not just for Fortuna. That's all I have to report.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your position is an alternate right now, though, but you get to move up as soon as someone leaves, correct?
Yes.
Yep.
Good.
Thank you for doing that, Tammy.
Good job.
So now if you have to leave us, you're in the clear.
Adjourn the meeting.
Pardon me?
Who's going to adjourn the meeting?
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
All right, Jeremy.
Yes, good evening. So I did attend the FBID, the Fortuna Business Improvement District's board retreat. It was a 4-day, well, actually, we ended up doing 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And then our facilitator decided to reschedule our Saturday meeting for, I believe, the 7th coming up here. But a good meeting, discussed the ins and outs and the details of what FBID does for the downtown, the Strongs Creek, the Redwood Village, and the Midtown Plaza areas, and then just for Fortuna businesses at large. And felt like the commitment to make sure businesses feel valued, seen, heard, and represented was reinvigorated by that meeting. So I'm looking forward to some of the positives that came out of the discussions in that meeting with relation to visits to downtown merchants and visits to other at-large businesses and so forth. Make sure that they feel like their voice is being heard in an appropriate manner. Also attended a what else have I done? Oh, excuse me. Parks and Rec is next Monday at 6, so I will report back the following council meeting for that. And then lastly, I recently attended an orientation for REDEC, the Redwood Regional Economic Development Corporation. I'm the alternate, but taking on the orientation, I also realized that they had a vacancy for one of the loan committee members. So I've submitted my application to be a loan committee member on that particular board. So we'll see if I get selected on that. Let's see. I think that is about all I have to report other than special meetings. I know we've been busy, but not a lot to report out.
All right, thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, it seems like we haven't had a lot of meetings, huh? REDEC continues to meet and give loans, and we've had just a couple go bad recently that we were dealing with, and that's kind of on its way to being resolved. Couple of League of California City Committee meetings. The Governance, Transparency, and Labor Relations Commission is going to meet on April 9th and April 16th because there's a lot to cover apparently. And then the Housing, Community, and Economic Development Committee will meet on April 15th. So that's going to be a couple of busy days of long Zoom meetings. As Councilmember Losi said, he and I got to have a meeting with Senator McGuire. We talked for almost an hour, a lot about housing and some about the OB department. And Mike, did you read that email that came this afternoon? So they sent back an email of what SB 9 would do, which is the one that is allowing developers to build duplexes and then do lot splits pretty much anywhere in town. And we tried to express our concerns with that and to talk about how different cities have different needs, and we didn't appreciate Sacramento trying to tell us what to do. I don't think he really heard that, but he did. I think that's probably the first time that I've been thanked by somebody for being blunt, which was kind of funny. But he sent back this little report today in an email, and Mike, it went to you too. I just don't know if you saw it yet.
I did.
And it explains what this SB 9 would do, and it does everything that we were afraid it was going to do. So we're just hoping that they either get rid of it or they amend it, because right now someone could split a lot, build a duplex on each of the 2 lots. So they could build a duplex on a lot, then the lot could be split. So now we have, instead of a 6,000 square foot minimum lot in our city, we would now have 3,000 square foot lots. And then, so then on that same 3,000 square foot lot, build an ADU. And so now you could have 4 residences on a 6,000 square foot piece of property. So it's just really frustrating that they're not understanding how that impacts some of our neighborhoods, and that cities work really hard to provide zoning for all types of housing, and we don't really need them to tell us what to do. So anyway, he was good to talk to. You know, he always is. He's always energetic and wants to do the right thing, but I just don't think he gets some of it. We had a good talk about the OB from Redwood, and I was supposed to send him some more information as I get it. And I'm hoping that that forum that is on Wednesday is a little more informative and community friendly than the first one was. But, you know, I don't know how we get them to change their mind or even to present the facts, because they just seem to want to avoid most of the facts that make their project look like it is not for the community, for the Eel River Valley and for the southern and eastern parts of Humboldt County. So they just kind of skirt those issues and they don't really talk about them, and they just continue to talk about their plan, which is discouraging as well, because from what I hear, they were going to revamp the St. Joe's Eureka OB unit, but they have no plans, they have no permit. And so I don't know when they are planning to do that. And if they take all of the patients from Fortuna to Eureka, now they're going to have a pretty full unit, and in the middle of that, they're going to do remodels. So it just doesn't seem very well thought out, and it doesn't seem like it's in the best interest of the community. But that is my report, and I'm hoping that we learn more on Wednesday, and that ultimately we can keep that OB here in Fortuna. Mike, did you want to add anything about our talk with Senator McGuire?
I do, real quick. I did get that email back. I have not taken time to sit down and read through it. But one interesting thing that Senator McGuire did say is, with regard to SB 9, with regard to the duplexes and 3,000 square foot lots, he said several times that if it's not allowed in our current zoning, it won't be allowed under SB 9 either. Now, again, I didn't read the email. Did you see anything opposite from what he had told us?
Yeah, like I said, I don't think he gets it. And so in the email that he sent out, that the, was it Anton was going to review our zoning and give us the input. If you read that, it goes right back to what we said. They could have the 3 square foot lots with 2 houses on each one. And that's what I was trying to say. And he was saying, oh no, locals are going to have, you know, some say over it. But no, that's not the case.
Yeah, he made that statement several times.
But I just don't think he understands zoning, and I don't think he understands the whole process. So that's a little bit frustrating. So
I'm not surprised. It's the
right. So I will try to answer the email in a way that maybe he can understand it, but I don't know if we can get through to him or not, but I'll try.
Okay.
So anyway, with that, I think that was a really long-winded report on my behalf, and I think everybody is updated, and sorry that the whole council wasn't included. That was at the request of Senator McGuire. He just wanted to be very candid and have a very blunt conversation without it being recorded on television, having to watch every word you say and all of the things. So I actually kind of understood that after he explained it. So with that, if no one has anything else, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also move.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, thanks you guys.
Thank you.
Great meeting. Less than an hour. Woohoo.
Right? We had a big-
Good job.
All right, good night, everybody.
Good night.